Yeah. You know that it's your boy Real Gato, the Real Gato Show. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Appreciate everybody who's tapping in with me today, Sunday morning. And I just very grateful once again to bring something new to the table. This is something I've been wanting to do. Just haven't had the time to set it up. I was moving around a lot, back and forth between New York and Atlanta. Shout out to everybody in Atlanta. Shout out to my boy Everest, Banger Stretch, Wave Runners, everybody that's out there doing their thing. Greatly appreciate y'all, building with y'all. Shout out to Gabe. Shout out to John on the radar. Everybody over there. Nos, Fritz, did y'all thing down there. Everybody that was just showing love to us when we was in the A. Just back and forth between New York and A, trying to build up this headquarters. It's a lot of work, to say the least. It's a lot of work, but we're moving forward. We're making progress daily, and that's the most important thing. When you're trying to do something great, it takes a lot. It really does. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of, just dedication and, I know all these cliche things that we say and blah, 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 but it really does take a lot. So, just shout out to everybody, man, just doing their thing. Once again, make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Real quick. So drop a jewel on y'all, something that I was thinking about, which is what I'm starting to consider the life or death concept. So what is that, right? Life or death. We all got to die. It's the reality of life, right? We born to die. The moment we take our first breath, that's the clock. That's the time clock that starts ticking for our ultimate demise. And what we do with the time here on this earth is what matters the most. And I think as we become children, or as we are children, we don't have a concept of time that becomes introduced to us, as we get older. And alongside with that introduction to time, it comes with other people managing our time. So, you go to school, that's the first management of time. You wake up at a certain time to go to school. You got to have homework and things of that nature for the school institution. And at a certain time, you got to be in the school at a certain time. You got to, perform in a certain time. There's a certain time frame from when you have to graduate, et cetera, et cetera. We already know what it is. But now with these concepts of time, we are automatically trained to make our time serving of another institution. I mean, this is nothing new. Everyone knows this. Even though education is important, education in this modern age really trains you to work for other people. And the education system does that. Now, there's two types of education. You got the education system and then you have education. Right, but that's besides the point. The whole point is that your time is managed, and if you're not careful, if you're not aware, over a certain amount of time, you'll just get used to somebody dictating and controlling your time. So then if you go to the streets, you know what that comes with. We don't want to get to that. And that's not the average person's life. The average person does not live in the streets, do street activity, participate in any, things like that. That's not the average. The average person's life is, they try to get a job. They try to do what we call the right thing. And with that, now you automatically put yourself in a perpetual cycle to automatically have your time dictated by another human being. Now, sometimes it's good. Sometimes when you're young, you don't know what to do with your time. That's why they say youth is wasted on the young. But that's bad as well. Anything done out of balance is not good. So basically, you get used to working and you go through the cycle of somebody dictating your time, and you end up programming yourself to do more for somebody else's vision and dream and organization than you do for yourself. Right? Now, we all know everybody's not meant to be an entrepreneur. There has to be a certain amount of followers and there has to be a certain amount of leaders. And that's a self-choice. That's a choice that you make. But this is for the people who understand that they are being dictated by somebody else's time, but they have their own dreams, goals, and aspirations and things that they aspire to accomplish. this is for y'all. Okay? You guys have to understand that you are up against your own programming that is self-inflicted, and this is based on the agreement that you created with yourself and also the lifestyle that comes from that agreement. So with that being said, if you created the agreement with yourself to, let's say, work for somebody else's company, somebody else's organization, somebody else's vision, you created this dream or this reality for yourself, you have the right and the duty, if you want to change that. And so what does that look like? That looks like taking back and taking control of your number one asset when you first born, which is your time. And how do you do that? We all got bills. We got to pay them. Some of us got children. I got 2 of my own. And I understand if a corporation is established and they're able to pay you a salary, by all means, you have to do what you got to do. And it's with that understanding that you should be even more critical of your time. So I'm going to put some steps in place, right? And I call it Tupac energy, right? If anybody knows, there's a story of Tupac where he was recording like a bunch of albums because he understood how finite his time was. And I noticed this too with like all of my people, shout out to everybody who, serve time, who's getting on the right track. We definitely salute y'all because it's hard to turn around certain things once you're accustomed to a certain lifestyle. But I noticed that some of my homies that may have been incarcerated, may have done time, they look at time when they get out as a whole different thing. Like, I remember there's an artist that came out, shout out to him, and he was like, yo, look, I just came home, I'm trying to do an album in a day. And, us with our normal program mind that ain't really served time or anything of that nature, we was like, yo, bro, it's kind of pushing the limit. You know what I mean? We may not be able to knock out a whole album in a day. And, rightfully so, we had the right to say that. However, it was his concept and his mindset of saying, nah, I want to get it done in a day. So even if he didn't get all of the songs done or everything wasn't recorded, mixed, and mastered, or whatever the case may be, at least he did all that he could do in that one day. And I noticed that has been an interesting thing that some people who serve time, they may not understand it, but that's definitely not an average person. Most people don't even understand how finite time is, how finite their energy is. They don't even understand these things until it's taken away from them. And, people who went to prison or did what they had, they basically served time. They understand a little bit more how precious time is. So if you can take that same mentality, that Tupac energy, that aggressiveness with your time, you'll be a lot further, right? Because if you break it down, as we know, you sleep about 6 or 7, 8 hours a day. And if you have a 9-to-5 job, you're working another 8 hours plus another 2 hours getting there, coming back, etc. Right? So now you're already at 2/3 of your day already completed. So what you do with that leftover time is important. And there's a couple of things that you could do to make it more efficient with that leftover time. So A, you have to be super intentional. And the way that you are intentional is having a plan. And having that plan should take place not the day of, but the night before. Right before you go to bed, what do you want to accomplish? What do you want the next day to be? And how many hours could you dedicate to that, right? So realistically speaking, and I got my little calculator here. You sleep 8 hours, another 10 hours, 18 hours. 10 hours is for the work, sleep is 8 hours, food, whatever the case may be, right? So now you got 18. 24 minus 18. We got 6 hours. What do we do with these 6 hours? Well, if you plan the night before, you'll be off to the races, right? Hour number 1, you may want to have some leisure time, spend it with your family, maybe want to lounge out, etc., etc. You want to minus that 1 hour, right? Personal time, read a book, etc. Then you want to make sure that you're physically fit, which is something I got to work on because I'm terrible right now, right? Let's just dedicate another hour to that. Let's break down 4 hours. You got 4 hours to be successful. What do you do with these 4 hours? Well, in these 4 hours, you can ask yourself a couple of questions. Not what is it that you want to do, but what does the world want from you? That's a very powerful question. Not what you want to do. What does the world want? What does the world need from Rel? What does the world need from you? Right? And then you have to be able to understand your talents, your expertise, what you're good at and what you're not good at, and package that all together. And then that becomes the foundation of what you spend those 4 hours a day on. So for instance, right, those 4 hours a day, I usually try to mix and master, work on some skill sets. I try to learn something within an hour. So in this case, I'm learning YouTube. I'm learning, podcasts and networking, et cetera, on the internet, collaboration and stuff like that. Obviously an hour I want to spend with my children. I got to spend time with them because they keep me grounded. And then, I probably spend 30 minutes, 40 minutes trying to read something, learn what's going on in the news. And, hopefully if I get a chance, spend an hour working out and, doing whatever I need to do to try and lose some of this weight because this dad bod is serious. And then my day's done. So I'm spending 8 hours, right? Now, the pivot and the goal is to reduce your lifestyle so that you can get your 8 hours that you spend on your job, if you're an entrepreneur, to put into your endeavors, into your business. But if you have a job, if you cannot manage the 4 hours that you have after you do your 9 to 5, after you sleep, then you cannot manage 8 hours. Because for you to be an entrepreneur, to manage 8 hours of your day requires discipline. And it requires a level of discipline that most people don't have, because this level of discipline you do not get paid for. Let me repeat it again. You get paid for being a disciplined employee by going to your job. This level of entrepreneurship you do not get paid for. Not directly. It usually takes time to build up a business. However, if you reduce your expenses, you reduce your lifestyle, for a couple of years, you'll have margin. And now that margin allows you to take risk. That margin allows you to quit your job. Now, I know that's not ideal for everybody, right? I usually tell my young guys, hold off on having children. You got time. And the reason why I say you have time is because once you have children, you have to do everything in your power to provide and protect for your children as a man. And that requires a lot of time. But when you don't have children, you have the ability to manage your time a little bit more effectively. But let's say you like me, you got kids and you got a job. First thing that you have to understand and change your perspective on is how that job that you have is not just a job, but it can be a business partner for your endeavor. So let me take it to the streets, right? Like, they got a lot of stuff with the music game. They say the drug dealers invested in the music game. They took the drug money from the streets, pumped it into the music game, and then some of the biggest artists came from it, right? I don't want to get into names. That's just the stories that you hear in urban culture and urban music, right? Well, what did the rapper or the artist or the creative have? They had a business partner. So let's say you're a creative, or let's say you are launching a business. Your job should be treated as your business partner. Your job should be treated as your business partner. So instead of looking at it as a burden, you can look at it as a partner. And, this is something that I've learned too. There's small pockets of time and downtime on your job that if you are aware of, you can get time back from your job and use that towards some of your endeavors. So what do I mean by that? I deal with tech, right, on a day-to-day basis. I do a little bit of networking, do a little bit of cybersecurity, got into that, from a different type of lifestyle. That's another episode. But I had an interest in it. And so, I studied for it, went to school for it, participated in a program, and I was able to work for a tech company, right? And some of the opportunities that I had was the ability to work remote. And in that remote time, I was able to travel and build up my business in Atlanta, simply because I didn't have a desk job and I didn't have to be there all the time, right? And that time that I would spend sitting in the office, I was able to split some of that time. Now, every job has downtime. There's times where, there's not too much going on. The business may be a little slow, etc., right? For your particular role. So that's perfect time for you to get an hour to dedicate to learn something new. Everybody on the job get a lunch break. In that lunch break, it's very easy for you to throw on some headphones and listen to something that you can learn from. So instead of gossiping about people at the job and talking a little nonsense that people do when they got the job, it's much more better for you with your time to throw on a podcast. Go listen to anything that you are interested in, that you want to do. Go listen to somebody who does it better than you. And there's plenty of resources. You got YouTube out here, and that's how most businesses now who are startups are actually getting most of their information from YouTube. So there's really no excuse. You can manage certain parts of your day just so long as you're aware. The key thing is being aware of the finite, the finite energy and element of time. You have to be aware of it. And the older that you get, the more you should be aware of it, because you're closer to your death. That sounds harsh, but that's the reality. It's a harsh reality, and that's a reality that all of us must face, part of the human experience. So I'm going to leave y'all with this before I sign off. Make sure that you, if you have a job, take some control of your time. I don't care if it's an hour. If you can make your 1 hour intentional, eventually that 1 hour will turn into 2. And then that hour will turn into 3. And then before you know it, you'll be walking off your job because you have walked in awareness of your finite time, and you started building something where you can walk from your job into your purpose. And that's the goal. That's what I would want to see for everybody involved. So with that being said, I'm going to leave y'all with that. Protect your time. And when you got the time to do what you need to do, move as if it's life or death. Move as if you're someone who's been locked up for 10 years and you finally get out to do whatever it is that you want to do. And now you want to just knock it out. You want to knock it out the park because you know how precious that time is, because they took it from you. That's the best way to move when it comes to your time. I want to see all y'all prosper, man. Everybody could win. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Really appreciate y'all for tapping in with me on this early morning. And yeah, tune in, Real Gato TV. Peace.